fit means going into a good market and developing a product that satisfies the need for that of that market. And that doesn't take into account any of the elements around reaching and marketing and selling to that market. It just looks at whether there's a need there. The term product market fit, it misses the element of what your go-to-market strategy is. They do a very good job of looking at who your potential title of your customer would be, the potential industries that you would be working with, some channels you could potentially go into, but it doesn't look at what messaging are you going to need to use to reach your customer, maybe how big those departments are going to be. This is a really interesting thing around sales and marketing. If you're doing if you have a marketing product like a Marketo, for example, when you're initially going to market, you want to target companies that have a bigger marketing department versus a smaller marketing department because you know where those budgets are. Same thing if you have a sales solution, you're going to go after larger sales departments versus smaller sales departments. And they don't take those factors into account in looking at how you're actually going to go to market. Another interesting piece is if you're selling to the SMB space, looking specifically at how receptive your customer is and how you actually reach your customer for an online message, for example. If you're doing a low-cost sale, you need a way to access a mass market so you can get a lot of leads, so you have a shorter sales cycle because sales is expensive. If you're dealing with and with that market, if they're not receptive to online marketing, they can be very hard to reach. And how do you go about reaching them? It might not be the best market for you to be going into to start. Value-based language is a critical piece when you actually think about selling. So we talked a little bit about storytelling and why to do it. When you look at value-based language, it focuses on the customer and what value that customer is actually going to see and how it's actually going to impact their business overall. So when I sit down with a customer, it's really important to understand what pains that they're seeing and how our solution's actually going to solve or address those pains. When you're structuring how you talk to a customer, it's very customer, VC, any other business owner, someone you're marketing to. It's really important to actually put yourself in the shoe of that customer, understand the language that they speak and the pain points they're having, and structure how you speak in conjunction with how they're going to receive that message. One of the companies I worked with is IP to company information, which is a really vague feature. It doesn't really mean much to someone. However, if you look at the benefit of IP to company information, it played a very big role in how companies structured their marketing department and spent their marketing dollars. So we'd take the IP to company information and plug this into their Google Analytics. And they could see their marketing activities and how effective they were at targeting specific industries. So for example, if we were looking at a company that was targeting the accounting space, we could see how, if we were doing some targeted advertising, for example, how effective that advertising was at bringing KPMG back to our website. Then on top of that, how likely they were to convert. So we knew how effective specific marketing activities were and where to actually spend our marketing dollars. So companies would implement this solution and see just tremendous cost savings because they knew which marketing activities were going to actually drive the behavior of the marketing of specific industries that they were looking to bring to their site. And when you're looking at lead generation, this is really important because it actually minimizes the overall sales cycle. So they saw increases in sales from implementing just IP to company information on their Google Analytics by like 40%. It's a really important piece when we actually look at it. I think there's a really important element of looking at sales marketing blend that is missed a lot of the time within startups, because a lot of founders are these days technical founders, and even business founders sometimes miss this piece between sales and marketing blend. And when you think about how you're building out your business, you need to think about the skill sets you need to acquire for your business to go to market. And if we look at sales skills within an enterprise space, it's very different from sales skills within a transactional type of sale. And the same thing goes for marketing skills. If you're marketing to an enterprise companies versus if you're marketing to SMBs or even mid-market, they're different conversations you're having and different strategies that you're going to be using. And this is also the important around founder selling, is if you're a founder and you're selling this, you'll understand these pieces, which are really, really critical, and understanding the skill sets you need to hire. So if you're looking at your first marketing hire and your transactional sell, having someone who has experience in SEO, SEM, potentially social, community development is really important. Where if you're, and I'm talking about insight versus transactionals, but we also have this consultative solution. But if we're going in, there's the vast contrast between the two, and there's a blend in the middle. If we look at the enterprise sale, you're doing more direct marketing. So you need someone who has experience in creating conversation with your customer and getting in front of your customer and getting those customers to events where you get to have those one-on-one conversations. And they're completely different skill sets. So your first marketing or sales hire needs to understand the process and the skill set that's needed. Another example would be your first enterprise level salesperson. An enterprise salesperson is very, very different from a transactional salesperson. In transactional sale, a lot of the times you can hire people straight out of college. You can. It's not as difficult of a sell, and there's not as much of an established process. Where if we go into an enterprise sell, you need someone who can sit across the table from an executive and represent your company. Most of the time with a transactional sell, it's going to be happening over the phone. If you're in an enterprise sell and you're selling a $250,000 product, you as a CEO may even want to be there. So all of those pieces are really important to pay attention to when you're making your first hire and understanding what's actually needed within your market. A lot of the times when I'm sitting down with founders and they need to start monetizing their business, they immediately want to go and hire someone else. And a lot of the times even hire a VP as their first sales hire because the idea of sales is just keep me away. I want nothing to do with this. When they don't realize they've already been selling. They were selling when they brought on their first employee. They were selling when they raised their seed round. They were selling from ground zero. They weren't thinking about it as a sales process. When I look at a founder who says that, it's the first thing I actually try and do is get them to break down something they're willing to do to sell and actually be comfortable selling, and getting in the mindset of getting customers in the door. And once they've run through a few sales processes, they'll start to understand what it looks like and the complexities that come along with it and what the potential the process is going to look like, or even a loosely defined process is going to look like. They don't need to be experts. It's not important for a founder to be an expert in their sales process. They can understand the general gist, read one sales book, understand what that funnel looks like, and understand how they're taking their customers throughout this. It's not their expertise. However, it is important to know that. It's important to know that the sales marketing model that you've built for your business is actually a good one. And you won't know that unless you actually go and sell the business or sell the customers yourself. You can set quotas for your first sales hire, and they might not be realistic. And if you haven't sold the product yourself and know what it takes to actually get that product to the customer and the price point in which you're selling it, you can't make your first sales hire. You don't have realistic expectations to set for them. And then the third piece is it's really important to talk to your customers when you're starting to charge them money, because that's going to tell you product market fit. You may find that when you're talking to customers, you're creating a lot more value than you initially thought you were. And so you could probably raise the price point. You may also find that the price point in which you've set is not equivalent to the value that you're charging them. The other thing you may find as well is you may have a really hard time onboarding customers. So it may make sense to charge a setup fee to incentivize the customer to come on board faster. So all of these pieces are really important, number one, from a product development standpoint, but number two, from that sales market fit standpoint. On average, founders will go through 2 VPs of sales because they don't actually understand the sales skills and marketing skills that are needed for their business. Founders, they haven't gone through a sales cycle before. They don't understand the skill sets that are needed, and they're very different depending on the sales cycle, or the sales and marketing cycles that you need for your business, and you don't know those unless you actually do it yourself. You just don't. The other thing I actually hear a lot from technical founders is they're so afraid of getting duped by a salesperson. And that breaks my heart because I love selling. It's like, oh my God, I love it. Good salespeople love what they do. We are the lifeblood of monetizing a business. And that's a really fun role to play within an organization that's starting from the ground up.